Hi everyone, it's Roger and James here from the What's On at Disney Plus podcast. In this week's episode, we're going to be talking about all the things that are going to be coming to Disney Plus in July and telling our thoughts on them. We'll be talking about some other stuff coming to Disney Plus around the world later this year. We've also got tons of stuff to be talking about in terms of new content, including Rise, Trevor the Musical, the Obi-Wan Kenobi finale, Miss Marvel, and much more. But before we jump into the quick bit of news, just a tiny bit of housekeeping. If you haven't already done so, make sure you subscribe here on the YouTube channel. You can also find us on audio platforms as well. Just be aware there are two audio platform feeds that we have. We have the podcast, and now we have the Q&A one. Also, just to note on the Q&A one, it takes sometimes a day or two for me to get the audio version up because of issues with how long it takes to be made into a video. But nevertheless, that's about that one. And also, as you can say, we can check us out over on the website, and you can become a Patreon and support us over there, or become a YouTube channel member. But I'll be getting to that a little bit later on. So let's jump into the news. So we've got the list for what's coming to Disney Plus in the US. We've also got the UK and Ireland list, and we've also got the Australia and New Zealand list. I'll just pick out the best bits from them. I'm not going to go for the full lot, but we're going to go through the full US list because, as per usual, it won't take us very long. It's just getting to the point of like, at what point, guys, are you going to like pull the trigger on this? Like adding things, it would be quite nice, but nevertheless, we'll get into that at the end of it. Right, so let's go through the list. So July the 1st, on the Friday, we got some shark documentaries and some ESPN stuff. I mean, I was just going to leave it at that. There's about 10 of them. We're also getting the assembled episode on the making of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, which just got added this week. I literally just watched it again this morning. Then on Monday, the 4th of July, we'll be getting America the Beautiful, a brand new documentary series. Check out, I'll have a review of that up on the website during the week, and next week I will be able to talk about it before it gets released. So look forward to that one. Then on Wednesday, the 6th of July, we're getting a new episode of Miss Marvel and some episodes of PJ Masks. On Friday, July the 8th, we're getting the wonderful Summer of Mickey Mouse. That's in the US and basically in the Western Hemisphere, Northern Hemisphere, down in Australia, New Zealand, and I think maybe even in like Latin America, South America, South Africa. You might get things a little bit different there because of the hemispheres, and it's like the middle of the winter there. But you might get this summer one. I don't know, the winter one. Sorry. On Wednesday, July the 13th, we're getting the Chubby Tiny Tales, Life Below Zero Next Generation Season 4, some new episodes of Spidey and His Amazing Friends, and the finale of Miss Marvel. Which feels weird talking about the finale because I just feel like we've just got going on that one. Then on July the 15th, you're getting the Explorer the Deepest Cave, which is a new all about a cave, basically. If you what they've kind of brought back this Explorer thing, it's like new specials. We saw one for Earth Day, which was quite fun, but yeah, so we got this one. We also got the Zombies Free dropping on Friday the 15th. This one is going to be coming into Disney Channel with a special longer edition in August. I suspect that version will then get put on Disney Plus as well. They also released a trailer this week. Did you happen to see that one?
I kind of skipped that one, honestly. I don't. I know it's a really popular series. I haven't seen the first two, and I'm not. Well, there's nothing else coming out that week, so maybe I'll just take that week off.
Yeah, I did watch the trailer. And it was a bit like, okay, yeah, just cheesy Disney Channel stuff. I'm glad it's been put on Disney Channel, but yeah, this is just not kind of. I don't think I think I need to watch the original movie. And I'm saying that I think I could probably just jump straight into 3 and know what's happened. I don't think it's gonna be that deep. I think but I'm glad it's there. I think it's gonna be a good one for kids and stuff to watch.
The dogs apparently really want to watch that one.
Yeah, they do not like. They do not want this one. Is getting a little grumpy because she's not getting where she wants. Right. Okay. From there, on Wednesday, July the 20th, we're getting some new episodes of Myra Royal Detective, and then we're getting 2 brand new series from Latin America. Now, I'm not even going to try and attempt to pronounce these. I did French at school. I didn't do Spanish, so that makes it even worse. I'm not even going to try and pronounce them because that would just be awful. But yeah, so we're getting 2 international series, which is pretty good. Unless you want to take a stab at them.
No, It Was Always Me. That's the English version of one of them.
Yeah. So there we go. So we're getting those two. Then on July the 27th, we're getting the first episode of the third season of High School Musical, the series, and then also Life is Magic, which is a brand new documentary series all about how Industrial Light and Magic make movies and TV series and stuff. What's your feeling on this month? Obviously, as an American subscriber.
It's a bit light. It'll be nice to have kind of a little bit less to worry about on the Disney Plus side after the hectic last couple of weeks, actually.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is for me is I think that, I mean, I just feel like this list is just it's just awful. I other than Miss Marvel, which is the two, there's two episodes of Miss Marvel that's great. The Light and Magic stuff, great, but it's a behind the scenes documentary. I never really put that as major mainstream content. That's just bonus filler that you'd find on a DVD. And America the Beautiful. That's literally the US list. That's all I'd be watching if I was a US subscriber. There's just nothing really there that's caught my attention. And I'm getting to that point of we've had this all year where the US is not getting stuff. Now there might be some more stuff added later down the line. They have been doing that lately. I mean, even since the list got announced, we had that Explorer documentary get added. Hopefully, we will see more. But it's getting very to the point, like guys, when are you going to fire up this general entertainment stuff? When are you going to start, because you keep going. It's getting less. I don't know. I'm just finding it very hard to justify to, I can't defend this list because it's just, I mean, the fact that it took me literally, the video that I did for What's Coming took me, it's 2 minutes long. 2 minutes long is just not good enough when people are paying for it. And they're saying we're going to put more on there. We're going to put more on. Here's all the parental controls. Here's all this other stuff, and then just do nothing. It's July. They put these parental controls in March, and we still haven't seen it fire up yet.
Yeah, I assume that they're doing that because they're trying to avoid the controversy of putting more R or hard PG-13 shows onto it, or they're just waiting for the the ad tier to come into play. Right. But yeah, it is light. It's not as light as it used to be. At least there's that. It's not as bad as it was a couple of years back. But yeah, once Miss Marvel finishes, it's hard to say yes. No, you need to hold on to your subscription. Andor's right around the corner. She-Hulk's right around the corner. It's they're actually not that close when you get down to it. When you look at the July.
I mean, it's pretty much a month between Miss Marvel and She-Hulk, and it's I feel like they are holding off until the ad tier kicks in before they start kicking up the gear. But just put something on there. I mean, there's been there's no library content being put on there. I mean, we haven't had really any real major Disney content being put on there. But there just seems to be nothing. It's they've just the brakes just got put on hold. We're just waiting until we get the ad tier, and then we're going to relaunch Disney Plus. That's what it feels like to me. But it's this, we're into July and we're still saying the same problems that we were having in January. And I don't know, at some point they've got to, I mean, hopefully at Disney Plus Day D23, but that still means we've got all of August to go. And, it's yeah, I don't know. It just feels very frustrating of just how little is being put on there.
Yeah. And I mean, there's things on there that I'm interested in seeing. I want to see some of these shark documentaries. I want to watch America the Beautiful and the Explorer, that was what I was thinking of, the Caves Explorers. But I do understand that a lot of people consider National Geographic still not even really part of it. They don't remember that these documentaries are. It's not a system seller. No. It's not what people subscribe for.
I mean, you mentioned the shark stuff. There's going to be a lot more shark stuff added because of Shark Fest. They've just not really announced any of the release dates for any of this stuff yet. Some of the things they've just put in a backfill. I don't know. It just feels like, it's that list of just going, really? Is that it? Now, I want to bring up here. So I'm going to just bring up a few things from the UK list. I mean, we are getting close to 10 to 15 movies every Friday from the 20th Century and the Regency deal. We're getting tons of ones. Some of the ones I am looking forward to is obviously The Princess, which is coming out on the 1st of July next Friday, and that's going to be on Hulu in the United States. I'm really looking forward to watching that one. We're also getting Not Okay at the end of the month. So that's another like brand new original movies. So there, instantly, there we've got 2 movies internationally that are going to be on Hulu. We're also getting the Bob's Burgers movie in the middle of the month. Internationally, that will be going again to Hulu in the United States, which is a shame. We're also getting new episodes of Only Murders in the Building. So I'll be talking a little bit about that later on with Only Murders in the Building. And we'll be getting new episodes right through the month. New episodes of Orville. I mean, literally, we're getting releases Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday here in the UK now because of those 2 shows. Some of the other things we're getting, Promised Land is a new series that's coming on, and it's been out for a while. It's been cancelled. We're also getting, again, we're getting just tons of like really weird movies and stuff that definitely help fill it out. Just looking at here, we're getting a new South Korean series, Kiss Sixth Sense. That will be dropping weekly. We're also seeing, obviously, Big Skies peeing back. We've got NCIS. We're also getting Lone Star Season 3 from 911. So that's pretty good. I'm just looking here. We've got new episodes of American Dad dropping in. The Great North. Getting Eureka, a brand new Disney series. I think that's just dropped this past week in the US. Again, loads of National Geographic stuff. It looks like the deal with Sky seems to have come to an end. So we're going to start seeing a lot more of the Nat Geo stuff arriving here. I mean, I think here, like, there's one Friday, middle of on the 22nd of July. I think we're getting like 15 movies being added. And, you know, it's just very difficult. I was writing up earlier. It was like, right, best movies coming to Disney Plus in July in the UK. Here's a list. Oh, that's a good list. I went to do one for the US, 1 movie. Like, well, I can't do the article of best movie coming to... It's just like, there's only 1 to pick. Like I can't even do it. I can't even do the article because there's not enough actual movies to come out.
You're not doing clickbait right. You need the best movie coming to Disney Plus, the worst movie coming to Disney Plus, all the movies coming to Disney Plus, the medium movie, and it's all just Zombie 3. So there you go.
Oh yeah. It's just painful just to have that. Again, the UK one I was able to do because I had some choice. A couple of other things. Australia, they're getting things a little bit. They're getting The Old Man as well on the 13th of July. So that'll be a series. We're gonna be talking about that one when it arrives in the UK, so I can keep up with it. Unless we get sent screeners, so we can talk about it because James has already seen some. We're also here in the UK getting Under the Banner of Heaven. That's coming out at the end of July for us. We're also getting Solar Opposites Season 3 coming. That'll be coming on the same day it arrives in Hulu. So instantly you can see where I'll like for me, I'm sitting here like Under the Banner of Heaven. I've got Solar Opposites, Not Okay, The Princess. I've got Orville. I got Only Murders in the Building. It's like, yeah, it's all the Hulu stuff. It's all the Hulu stuff that I'm looking forward to watching because the Disney side is just really lacking. So we've got lots of stuff to watch. It's just in the US, most of it's going to be on Hulu.
As it has been for the last several months. At least things like Obi-Wan and Miss Marvel have shored it up and given you a reason to turn on Disney Plus. But at the moment, or not at the moment, at halfway through July, those are then gone. And I think that's also something that Disney probably recognizes, but they need to fix. You know, you can release these documentaries and the things that are not going to get quite as much viewership at the same time that Miss Marvel is coming out, or the same time Obi-Wan is, because you know you watch the episode and you're like, oh, well, we're already in the Disney Plus. Let's see what else there is to say. Oh, there's this movie that just came out. There will be very little reason for people to log into Disney Plus after Miss Marvel finishes and before She-Hulk starts. Sure, there will be plenty of people still doing it, but there will be less people seeing these because I'm not logging in to see Miss Marvel, so I'm not going to see these well, those will be up, but I will not see the Explorer documentary because I'm not logging in to see She-Hulk at that point.
No. I think as well as it just makes it more and more frustrating when you see what it's almost that thing of that, like the UK and then obviously like Australia and Canada and stuff, you know, we're getting this far better service. And it's been like this for 18 months now. And it's just now we're kind of at that point of the pandemic where, you know, all of that production issues are behind us. We're just getting new stuff dropping every single week. I can honestly say, like, as a subscriber to Disney Plus, I am happy with the amount of content we're getting. There's something for me to watch every single week, which will keep me engaged. Multiple things each week, even, you know, but there's a lot of competition here. We've got Netflix kicking out the last 2 episodes of Stranger Things. We've got Amazon with The Boys. We've just had Paramount Plus launch here in the UK, so I've started watching Yellowstone, and I watched some South Park and stuff earlier today. I really enjoyed the first episode of Yellowstone. There's some other shows as well. So there's a lot of great stuff out there, and I feel like it does feel like, yeah, the US one at some point, it's like it's gonna change. It's gonna change, and it's like, yeah, but it doesn't. And it's just like, hopefully it will do pretty soon. But I'm getting everyone. I can't keep. It's like, I'm telling you guys, it's coming. It's coming. It's coming. It's coming.
It's not as bad as it used to be. We can at least go, all right, we see what we see the horizon. She-Hulk is over there. Andor is over there. Mandalorian season 3 is over there, and so on. So it's not like 2 years ago we're going, yep, it's the big fib this week, and yeah, that certainly was a show. What's coming up on the horizon? Oh, nothing. Literally nothing.
We've got nothing until Mandalorian in December, kind of thing.
Yeah, it's not as dire as that, but you look at what the other services are putting out right now, and there's so many good things just across the board. Even if you take Hulu out of the mix, you listed off several, so I won't go through it again. But there's a lot of very good content, and there is very little reason for you to turn on Disney Plus after Miss Marvel ends.
Yeah. And speaking of Miss Marvel, and it was revealed by Samba TV this past week that it was the least viewed premiere. Just over 775,000 US households watched it, way below Kenobi. I'm really hoping that this coming Wednesday those numbers slightly increase, but I wonder if the damage to the show has already been kind of done to some people of why they weren't watching it. We'll talk about the third episode a little bit later, but I'm hoping the next 2 weeks, because we've got episode 4, 5, so we've got 3 weeks really where Miss Marvel's kind of got the time to shine on Disney Plus by herself. I will be very surprised if they don't end up moving Andor or She-Hulk off of Wednesdays to make sure this doesn't happen again. It might work better with She-Hulk going before Andor, that they might give it a chance for a week or two. But yeah, I don't think it was a great idea to run them at the same time.
And like I said last week, I don't think that was the plan either. There's a lot of indications that Obi-Wan was originally supposed to launch earlier, in which case that final episode might have overlapped with Miss Marvel's episode 1, or it might have been Obi-Wan finishes and the next week Miss Marvel finishes. It does seem to indicate that was the case, and they had to push it back. Maybe the special effects weren't ready. That would explain why some of the special effects are so bad. But yeah, with She-Hulk and Andor, it would probably be helpful for them to stagger them onto different days. We'll see what they plan to do.
And also with them, She-Hulk is 9 episodes and Andor is 12 episodes. So we need over 3 months of those two running side by side. Quick note as well, yesterday there was a 4 press conference for the upcoming movie. I've got my ticket for the first thing when it comes out. They have confirmed that they are going back to San Diego Comic-Con, and they're going to be doing a panel there. There's been speculation that they weren't going to because they've announced something for D23. I kind of was always a bit I would have expected them to be there in some capacity, because they've got She-Hulk and Iron Groot and possibly even Wakanda Forever to kind of show off. Plus, they haven't announced other projects, which have kind of... It was funny. I was talking to some people yesterday, and I was like, well, technically, we don't officially know about Daredevil. We don't officially know about Werewolf by Night. Officially, we don't know about Nova. Officially, we don't know about Thunderbolts. And I think there's another series. There's at least 5 projects that have been are out there in the sphere that we know they're making, and some of them, but they actually haven't officially done the logo treatment and kind of said these are coming. So I could easily see all them just being announced on a special panel and go, look at all this great stuff, and everyone's going, but we knew all that. Yeah, but we hadn't told you. This is the trouble of having no events for the last 2-3 years. They've kind of lost that edge to be able to get it out there. I remember when Miss Marvel was announced, literally the day before, I think it was D23, it kind of got out there. But there's a lot of stuff that they haven't officially announced, which they couldn't announce and make it look like they're making a lot of announcements. And I just know there's going to be so many people disappointed because it's well, we knew that. We knew about that. We knew about this. It's yeah, but they've not done it. It's going to be interesting to see how this works out next month.
And again, as I will always point out, there are people who are reading the news articles every single day, waiting to see what it is. And then there's the general public, and the general public like, oh, you're working on Thunderbolts. I don't even know what Thunderbolts is, or oh, new Daredevil series. So the announcements are not for us. As frustrating as it will be, more likely to not have new things that we didn't already know about or weren't already rumored. It gets the news out there to people who aren't paying attention. And San Diego is an entirely different audience than D23, or like mostly different audience, which is also important. And we've talked about that in the past, where D23 is the Disney convention. If you are at the Disney convention, chances are you are looking for specific things versus what people at San Diego Comic-Con are looking for. And it reaches people who don't sit down and go, I go to the Disney parks 3 times every day and watch every Disney Plus show 4 times. And, I don't think there's anyone who actually does that, but, different audience, people who are not paying attention, people who are paying attention very specifically to comic related things, and who they don't care about Zombies 3 or High School Musical, the musical season 3. They're not interested in those announcements, and they don't want to wade through those announcements to get to, we are doing Mandalorian season 3 is dropping on this date, and we are announcing the Nova show, which etc.
I also think as well it was good with D23 where Disney branded television now has its own separate show for all its stuff to take away from the Marvel and the Star Wars stuff. But yeah, I don't think this is a bad thing, because what this could do is this could be a way for Marvel to announce a lot of the projects that we know about, and then do some maybe the odd 2 or surprise ones that we don't know. But then when it comes to D23, they can bring out cast, they can make more announcements, but more importantly, they can make there's kind of that whole thing of, are they going to announce wave, the phase 5, the full sweep, or are they going to hold that off to D23? It's very tricky. I'm kind of a little bit like, it could go either way, because they did it back at 2019. They showed off a load of stuff at San Diego Comic-Con, and then they did some more stuff at D23. But when at that point, Disney Plus hadn't even officially launched. So it was a very different kind of era. But yeah, it's going to be interesting how all this comes about. But it's good to know that we're going to get something. I think, we'll get some. I wouldn't be too surprised if we saw a trailer or some sneak peek at Wakanda Forever. Maybe they might get a sneak peek at Guardians of the Galaxy and Ant-Man. Those are movies that we know that are coming up. And I think if you were in a stadium, if you were there in the hall and you're getting shown all that stuff along with some other big announcements, I think that's probably enough then to get the cast come out. I think that's a pretty big, strong lineup anyway.
Yeah, no, the D23 announcements will be pretty big, and it's easy for Disney to get the cast in there. There's almost always somebody on stage, and sometimes it'll be the entire cast, and they'll just wave and they don't even talk. They're just like, "Hi, I'm here," and then out the door.
Well, also as well, it's in LA, so it's easier for them to get the actors often there as well.
Mm-hmm. But San Diego, I'm expecting maybe we'll see if not all announcements, we will see the schedule coming up for the theatrical releases. They might shuffle some things around, finalize some dates, and get us a couple of years farther out than we already are. Things like that.
Because the other thing as well, I feel like with the San Diego Comic-Con announcements back in 2019, and everyone kind of, that was like 3-4 years ago. It's like, but essentially the Marvel, that timeline got put on pause for at least a year. Black Widow and all the movies have all got pushed back. Had the pandemic not happened, we'd already be onto Guardians. We'd probably already be onto like next year's movies, because they're all supposed to have come out like a lot earlier than this. So it's like Eternals and Black Widow were all delayed a year, and that pushed back Shang-Chi. But it's been a domino effect. So it's kind of, we lost 18 months in that as well. So that's always a bit of a tricky one. Plus, we don't know really where some of these movies and series line up in the next, we got loads of them coming. Armor Wars, Secret Invasion, Ironheart. Are they phase 4 or phase 5? We don't really know.
Do the phases even really matter anymore? Is it that's an actual?
I think it feels to me like phase 4 is when you look back, it's so everyone's being introduced. We got the multiverse and all the rest of it, but there's so much of it. there's so much more in phase 4 than there was probably in phase 1 and 2 combined.
But there's also no feeling of connectedness between a lot of them as well. Because you've got them all doing their own things. Loki is over here starting the multiverse and setting up Kang, and Shang-Chi's over here punching dragons, and they all feel like they're not part of a huge story. Now, again, phase 1 was not the same. It was like, here's Thor, here's Captain America, etc. And the other stuff will come to later.
I mean, to me, it's starting to feel like now that we are in the mode of we're setting up for Secret Wars with some kind of multiverse issue, because we've got multiverse in Loki, multiverse in Miss Marvel, multiverse Doctor Strange, and Spider-Man. So we've got at least 4 projects now that have been directly tied to the multiverse. I think Ant-Man is obviously going to tie into that a little bit more. But yeah, I feel like we're getting there. And I think Kevin Feige was saying, he wants to get that out there a little bit more of what's going on, of what's coming up in the next. And maybe if they just turn around and go, Secret Wars is coming in 2025, and that's the big Avengers, or the young Avengers are coming together. That's all he needs. That's all they need to do is just give us the super event that everything's leading up to, and then everything will then, people will start looking for that a little bit more.
Yeah, and there's other threads going through there as well at the moment too. Like Shang-Chi, we found out the rings or the armlets are connected to some other sort of cosmic force, which sounds like it might not be a multiverse thing, but something similar to the Infinity Gems. Not sure where they're going with that yet.
But then even with Shang-Chi, they ended up going into an alternate universe, didn't they? Where that
something like that.
Yeah, it's very strange of how all that's working. But yeah, so we'll obviously find out a little bit more about that in the coming weeks ahead. Before we get into the reviews, we also had a press announcement this week about what's coming to Disney Plus in the UK and Ireland over the next year. So this is for 2022 to 2023. So I'm just going to run off a list of shows that are coming this way. So these will probably be arriving on Hulu and Disney Plus in the US. American Horror Story Season 2, Culprits, Dance the World with Derek Hugh, Extraordinary Birder, Farming is Life, Fleischman in Trouble, Limitless with Chris Hemsworth, Little Demon, Maggie, Mike, Nautilus, Not Okay, Prey, Reservation Dogs Season 2, Save Our Squad, Science Fair the Series, Solar Opposites, The Ballad of Renegade Neil, The Full Monty, The Old Man, The Patient, The Princess, Wedding Season, Welcome to Chippendales, and Welcome to Wrexham. That's all the stuff that we know is now officially confirmed for Disney Plus here in the UK. Which is that's not a bad list. There's some good stuff there. Yeah.
Not much to say about it, honestly.
No. Yeah, just tons of stuff. So that's pretty cool. Right, before we jump into the reviews, let's do a quick bit of shout out to our patrons and YouTube channel members, which you can join us from as little as $2 a month. This helps support the channel, helps support all the software that we use, the hosting, also pays for other bits and pieces that we need. So big hello to Raphael, Adam, Dana, Ricky, Dave, Manmoud, My VCR Still Works, Bina, Joshua, Dawn, Martin, Jeremy, and Sarah, all over on the Patreon. A big thank you to we've got Paul, Daniel. We've also got Elliot, Danny, Aero, Dana, Connor, Caleb, Red Marsman, Cody, Nick, Micah, Gavin, Chris, Jacob, Joseph, Darren, Lauren, the Juice, Andrew, and a big thank you to Sarah as well. And as per usual, you can take part in the weekly Q&As, which take place live on Sunday nights in the UK time. So let's jump into some of the reviews. So, right.
It's a big list.
It's a big list. Yeah, we've got a lot of stuff. So, Only Murders in the Building is coming to Disney Plus internationally and Hulu on a Tuesday with the first 2 episodes, with new episodes dropping weekly. Now, I have been sent most of the series, but I withheld myself. I only watched the first 2 episodes. I didn't want to get too far ahead because obviously we'll probably be talking about this series over the coming months on the podcast, and I didn't want to get to the point oh yeah, I'm on episode 7 and I've got to wait 3 months for everyone to catch up. So I only watched the first 2 episodes. It is just like jumping back into it. It's just the same. It's got that same feeling. It's got the same comedy, the same connection between them all. And there's a few different characters, like Amy Swimmer has taken over the role from Sting, where she's moved into it. There's just lots of great comedy. There's new love interest for for Selena Gomez. You just got more of the same from Steve Martin. So you start seeing a little bit more of his character's past. This just, it was that kind of feeling of just like settling into a nice spot. You just knew what you were getting, and it was just more of it. And I really enjoyed the first season. And yeah, this is just a great series. And it was that kind of like, wow, it just felt right. Does that make sense?
Yes. It's like having your favorite meal or something like, or maybe not your favorite meal, but like a comfort meal. You know what you're getting. It may not like knock your socks off. It may not be the greatest thing of all time, but it's just comfy and enjoyable, and you're not really worried about the problems of the world while you're watching the show. I've not seen these episodes yet, but I'm super excited for them.
Yeah, I just thought they were great. I can't wait for everyone to watch it. So, like I said, it was a little bit tempting to watch ahead, but I thought, no, I'm gonna try and. It doesn't really work for a murder mystery and then as well as that, trying to remember where the episodes end and trying not to spoil it for people, because that's the thing with like a murder mystery. It's very tricky with these kind of things, but yeah, can't wait for this one to drop next week. This is such a good series, and having this right through the summer as well, that'll pretty much see us right through July and August, so that'll be a great series. Okay, let's now talk about another movie that came out, Rise, all about a family that move from Nigeria. They move up to Greece. They have some kids, and they just end up falling in love with basketball and end up getting into the NBA. Now, this movie had everything on the trailer and on the description that said to me, "You're gonna hate this. This is just not your movie. I don't care about basketball. The last person I know with basketball was like Michael Jordan and Shaq. That's literally as much as I know about. I didn't even know these guys existed. To be honest, to be honest, the entire NBA, I could bump into any of them and I wouldn't know who any of them are. That's how much I've got no idea. But this movie was not about basketball. It was about the issues of migration, trying to stay away from the Greek authorities, the issues that all that brings. The NBA is literally like the last 10, 15 minutes. It's not a huge part of it. It was a real heartwarming movie. Me and my wife, we watched it and we just really enjoyed it. We thought it was a really just nice, easygoing movie. And we enjoyed it. And it was kind of nice. It was that kind of thing like, oh, that was a lot better than I was expecting, which was nice. And it was almost that, and I'll be honest, the review embargo was the morning it came out. I'm like, why? Because it's good. It's that really annoying thing of when normally an embargo on the same day it comes out is usually that it means it's bad. It's like, no, it's not. I didn't find any problems with this movie at all. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I watched it this week too. It is a really good movie. The basketball is just the framework. It's what they use as their escape from their troubles, and it's well done. And it shows like this growing support network that they get as they're growing up. The coach from the youth league, and then this what they call the agent who is their first client, and he's never done anything, but he has the right connections and he's able to get them. And there's just some really good scenes with the family coming together and supporting each other. And I appreciated that the father, at first he's a little upset that they're going across town without him knowing about it and how dangerous that can be. But
yeah, I think it was more the safety. I think it was more along the lines of like,
it was definitely the safety. It was not, you will obey me, you will follow my rules. Basketball is strictly for you, because he was a soccer player. He was on the Nigeria team, I think, or at least one of the major teams over there. And so he understood that. And he's just like, no, I just want you to be safe. We'll do this safely. And then he supports them, and he even gets them new shoes and all this, and really does his best to make sure that they have a life that he wasn't able to have, which is great. Because so often these shows and movies, the father or the mother is like, no, there is no fun in this house. We will do this footloose. There are no happy things allowed. Do your chores, do your school, and become a doctor or something like that. And that's the story. Nothing wrong with becoming a doctor. Obviously, that's the point of view of the overbearing father in this case. So it's nice to see this family that, even though it's torn apart, because they have a a brother who's still in Africa and can't get out at this point.
He also wrote some of the music for this movie.
I was not aware of that.
No, I didn't know about this till yesterday as well. But yeah, so this is yeah, it's a whole. I mean, the whole thing of them sharing a pair of trainers while they are like playing, and like the people laughing at them and the racism that they suffer, all sleeping in the bed together, and just the whole thing of it when they get in that hotel room of just like, could you imagine how free they felt of like having a bed each? You know, it's like you just can't imagine that of like four brothers having to share a bed.
Not even like having two beds and each of them having themselves. I think each bed was bigger than the ones they slept with in Greece altogether. And that was a great scene. They're jumping on the bed and they're doing all the things that little kids do, even though they're now like 18-year-olds.
I remember, but I remember me and my brother going on holiday. We were about the same age as them, and we it was just like, you know, and it was just like, you know, wrestling and stuff because you just had that space. Yeah, it was fun. But yeah, no, I definitely felt like this was just a really nice, feel-good movie. I love the whole aspect of it as well being set in Greece. I think that really kind of like made it feel a bit different. It was nice it not being so American based, especially from my point of view. It was just more interesting.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. America doesn't come into it at all. They don't even really mention the NBA until the last 15 minutes or so. It really is just about their struggle. They don't even have dreams of getting into the NBA. Yeah. There's not like, I'm going to play for the Lakers one day. It's literally just they'll occasionally have an American broadcast on because they're watching basketball, not because they're watching the Lakers or the Celtics or whatever 76ers. It's just they're so in love with basketball they'll watch everything. And
well, I mean, they could have. If Spain had let them in, they would have gone to Spain. They weren't really that. You know, it was all about, you know, if they were going to do this. It was just, I just thought it was great. I thought it was a really, and it was also, I would say it was nice having a positive story about migration, and I feel like that was so needed, and the issues that come into it, because, you know, ultimately those kids were, you know, they're EU citizens, and you know, they are entitled to do stuff, and I feel like that was I thought they did a good job of selling that, but also the idea that, you know, then trying to make out that the parents had lied about that, and you know, it's just overall I just thought it was a really, really enjoyable movie. A bit of a sleeper hit for me, something that kind of came in. But I remember feeling the same, I think, with Safety. Very similar. I think they had slightly different angles on the story things, but I again, you know, I feel like you know, these sports movies have gone, I feel like, I've got to give them a much better, like, you guys can impress me on this a lot easier, maybe, and whereas I normally like just write them off.
Yeah, no, it really does depend. This is broken record. I've said this dozens of times. It really does depend on if the focus of the story is the basketball or the football from Safety or what have you, or is it the character story? The older brother who has to take care of the younger brother and smuggles him into the dorms, or these three brothers who pick up basketball at an old age by NBA standards and learn it well enough to actually get into the NBA. And then supporting each other and their parents supporting them and them supporting their parents and back and forth. And that's the focus of this. This is the family is the focus of this. The basketball is just the means by which they support each other.
I think I watched when we watched a movie a while ago for one of our movie club movies was Miracle, which was all about like ice hockey, and that was a little bit more, that's just about the hockey. The hockey was the main part of the story. Whereas this is it. But no, I thought it was really good. If you haven't watched it, watch it. Put it on your watch list to watch. Don't overlook this one.
Maybe while you're waiting for She-Hulk, we're in that lull between Miss Marvel and She-Hulk. This is a good movie to check out.
Yeah. We also got Trevor the Musical, which is a filmed version of an off-Broadway show. Basically all about a kid coming out in the 80s. Well, he's not even coming out. He's coming to terms with his sexuality. He's kind of forced out.
Yeah, I was going to say he's forced out.
Yeah, there's also that kind of element of the issues like suicide that comes into it because there's a little warning beforehand. Watched it. It's a bit weird like watching like musicals, filmed musicals, because they obviously have a different feel to them. I love watching musicals. I you know, whenever we can do, we try to see them. Like most recently, we were on a cruise and we got to see like We Will Rock You. So I enjoy watching musicals. This one, I don't know if I would go. I think I would go and see it if it. The trouble is, I think if it came to my town, I probably wouldn't have seen it because I wouldn't have recognized it. Because I remember when they advertised, it's like, Trevor, what's that? I think it's a solid one. The music kind of got a little bit of influence from Diana Ross in there. There's a few songs that you know,
just a little,
just a little.
I mean, she's a character in the show.
Yeah. And he kind of, I thought it was a really heartwarming story. I thought it was done very well. I can see why Disney went out and kind of, I think they need to do more of this. Go and grab some, do film stage shows. Do their own ones might be good as well. You got all those big blockbusters like Frozen and Beauty and the Beast and that Aladdin one they've been sitting on for like 2 years. Get them out there. Let's see them. I enjoyed Trevor. It's kind of something I could put on in the background. I wouldn't say it was amazing, but I thought the story was important. Obviously, with it being Pride Month as well, I feel that was a good timing for it. It was a solid thing. I feel like if you like musicals, give it a go. I feel like it would be kind of nice to see if they turn that into a series. With the story, I think it would have been a bit more meatier to it than having. But the kid that did it, I mean, he was fantastic, in the lead role, and yeah, I thought I enjoyed it. I definitely would recommend if you like musicals, give it a go.
Yeah, I would say to keep your expectations in check, though. It is not lower production quality. It felt a lot more like a high quality high school performance rather than like a Broadway performance, which is not necessarily an insult. You just have to manage your expectations going into it. The other thing is, for the most part, the actors are around the age of the characters that they're playing. And since this is a high school, late middle school era, you have a lot of 13, 14-year-olds singing, and the quality of music is not going to be the same as like going to see Les Mis or Wicked or something like that in person with that level of talent. That said, it's not like you're going to be sitting there going, "Oh, my ears! Why did my little 13-year-old think that he could sing?" kind of thing. They are trained. They know how to dance. It's just not at the same level as what you might be used to. It's not Hamilton.
No. Well, I actually enjoyed it more than Hamilton. I'll be honest. I did. I think the music was a bit more something that I like. But if you like Better Nate Than Ever, give this one a go, because I feel like they're very close to each other in terms of how they've done it. But yeah, I thought that was pretty good.
It was very good. Just also, it's not light subject matter. As you said, there's a warning right at the beginning. It does talk fairly frankly about an attempted suicide by one of the characters, and it doesn't really pull punches with how he is treated once his secret that he doesn't even really fully understand himself comes out. And you do need to be in the right headspace for it.
It's also that very different thing of it being set in the 80s. It's a different era of not being so aware of it all, and everyone maybe not being quite as embracing of it all. Very, very, very. I just thought it was a really good addition. I can't praise enough. Yeah, I think I would say 4 out of 5. It's a good solid show, especially for musicals. Also this past week we had Harmonious Live, which is a live stream from Epcot. I didn't watch it because they didn't live streaming it internationally, and it was kind of one of those things of I've been listening to the soundtrack for months, so I kind of knew the music stuff. You watched it? What was it like?
I did. Also, it was 2:00 in the morning for you guys.
It would have been. I don't know if that was why. I still think it was a test for the Dancing with the Stars. I feel like
that was my impression too. Was that it was a test for it? I did watch it live. It's only half an hour long, but the first 10 minutes are them talking to the people who are performing in it, and then it's the show, and it's a good show. It's Epcot, the current version of it, and it worked. I had no technical problems. I think that's the more important thing than the actual content of the show at the moment, is that I had no technical problems watching it. It streamed. There were a couple of points where you're watching a YouTube stream or a Twitch stream where occasionally the bit rate might drop down and it gets a little pixely. That did happen once or twice, but I never had any hard stops. I never had any proper stuttering. The music played all the way through, which is important. You don't want to be in the middle of Aladdin and then, oh wait, pause. Oh, there goes the rest of the song. None of that happened. So it looks like the technology is working. I do wish they had maybe let people know a bit more about this, because the only reason I knew about it was because of us talking about it. I never got it. I never got an email from Disney Plus being like, "Oh, tune in at this time on Disney Plus for live broadcast." It was in the banner, but it was tucked away like 4 or 5 banners in. So
it definitely that's that feeling of it being a soft test, isn't it? It kind of like, we're going to pick something that we don't think a lot of people are going to watch in the same numbers. We can test the software, because it was a bit like when they did the it was better than they did with the award ceremony nominations, where they literally announced it the day of it, and they were just like running it. But you can see that this just was a test. But hopefully they do more. I mean, hopefully they just do more. But yeah, again, they just make it global. Put this out there for us all to watch. It might have been really early, but we could at least watch the replay the following morning.
Yeah, and the park shows are actually a really good test for this. I would love to see them do some of the other ones, maybe the fireworks show at the Magic Kingdom, or the light show at Animal Kingdom. I always actually really enjoyed that, with the boats all lit up and the water sprays and stuff. As for the show itself, it is the show that's been going on for a while. Like you said, the soundtrack is out. There are home cameras that you can find on YouTube of watching it. It's a perfectly good show. I still kind of prefer the old Epcot show, but it is good.
I haven't been to Epcot since they brought this one in, but I know, a lot of people are mainly moaning about the barges being there during the day, because they used to be able to leave. But that's a thing for Disney park fans. But no, that was good. So glad that one dropped on.
That would actually be hilarious if there's like, here's 3 hours of broadcast of the barges just being in the middle of the water, blocking your view of the Japanese pavilion or something.
The thing is, I think as well, especially, we all love the World Showcase. It's such an amazing place if you've ever been there. It's one of my favorite places in I still remember when my sister-in-law got back from Disney, she messaged us going, "We went to Epcot, we couldn't find anything to do." I said, "Did you not?" "Oh yeah, we walked around and we left." I'm like, like completely missed the point of Epcot.
Honestly, though, they don't actually advertise the rides over there very well, and they don't do a good job of advertising. No, this is where you get to try different food. This is not where you get the Mickey-shaped sandwich. This is where you get a taste of France, or a taste of Mexico, or Italy, or something like that. You can drink alcohol over here, because some of them have alcohol available. I mean, that's less of an issue now, but they don't actually do a very good job of explaining why you want to go to the World Showcase.
It's just good for food. I mean, you get some Mexican food. The teppanyaki restaurant in Japan is fantastic. But I love going in there and having that experience. You got and one tip: go to the wherever's original cake shop in Germany, because it's fantastic. But nevertheless, that's enough on Epcot, because I could go for hours on that one. Also, this week we got, I'm just trying to think what else we had on our list.
Quite a few, actually.
Yeah, so we had Orville. And I don't want to go too much into this one, because did you happen to watch it?
Yeah, I watched both last week's and this week's together.
This one was a bit deep. It was, and especially with everything that's going on this weekend in the US, I thought it was a little bit like, oh, crikey. It really did kind of touch on. So it's a pretty heavy episode of putting a reflection up against like modern politics. Again, just this level of this show of where they are going with it, and this is not a comedy. This is just not. Do not think this is a proper science fiction show. But yeah, this one, the actual story and stuff was very deep, very dark. And yeah, you couldn't help but just notice the mirror being put up right now to the US market.
The timing was prophetical. Is that a word? It was very interesting to see that came out the same week. And of course, when I watched it, the news from Friday hadn't come out yet.
Well, I only watched it this morning, so it literally was like, oh, okay, no, they've gone there. So yeah, it's quite a touchy subject with everything in there, with what's going on. But yeah,
it is. So, if you watched the first 2 seasons, and you should before season 3, if you have not watched the Orville, do not start here. You really do need to see the first 2 seasons, because it keeps doing callbacks and bringing in characters. Like the 3rd episode relies very heavily on you remembering a random episode from season 1 and who these characters are. But having said that, this is a really good Star Trek show right now.
And I'm looking forward to watching the new Star Trek one because I got Paramount Plus this week because it launched here in the UK.
The Strange New Worlds, that I've said
Yeah.
it before, it is actually a very good show.
So we're willing to give that one a go. Okay, moving on from there, let's now talk about Miss Marvel. So we had the third episode. This is where we kind of we found out who the villains are for this series. We got some action. We got Miss Marvel kind of trying out some of her powers, and I really enjoyed the whole aspect of it being set at a wedding, and it just made the setting and everything just so much more interesting. I really enjoyed that whole aspect to it, and the additions being brought in and the dancing, and it just felt fresh. I really enjoyed that about Miss Marvel. I feel like it's actually helping the series kind of stand out on its own.
Oh yeah, I'm really enjoying this series. I'd actually never seen a Muslim or Pakistani wedding before, so it was very interesting to see their traditions and customs in it and how they differ from what I'm used to. And the overall story was good. The main thing, and this isn't necessarily a Miss Marvel problem, is I've gotten very sick of the trope where the bad guys first appear as good guys, and we're like, these are our allies, and they're going to help us, and then they're like, oh yeah, actually, we're not really going to ask you. We're going to make you, and we're going to. We've seen it a lot, not just in Marvel, but in other storytelling. I recognize there's only so many different ways you can do a villain superhero story, but I am getting a little sick of this trope at the moment.
I'm also a little bit like I did feel like that's the episode of just like right, what are you the villains? Where I was a little like, what are you actually after? Because it took the way they explained it was like well, we're known as this and we're known as that. Like I know, like if you go into the Easter eggs articles, I had to go on basically and like look at like what does a lot of this mean? Because a lot of it just went right over my head. Any references to what we've seen like in the comic books or and we've got Kree in there at some point with some hand with the bracelet. It's like the whole Inhuman situation of like that's not seemed to happen with the Mist, even though they referenced Inhumans in Doctor Strange, so they are part there somewhere. They're trying to get back home. So first of all, maybe they're Inhumans trying to get back to the moon. Like no, they want to get back to some parallel, some universe, and they're all genies. And I don't know. It was a little bit like what? I don't know what you want. Where are you going? And now they were going to go to India or Pakistan. I'm just like I don't quite get like where.
I didn't think about that too much. I was just like, oh, they want to get back home, and home is an alternate dimension, and Kamala is the power source that they need to get back to it. And they have lived so very long that there are legends about us, kind of like the Eternals had, and these are jinns or genies, however you want to pronounce it. And I was like, okay, I kind of got that. But yeah, there is a bit more depth to it, and it is them, the writers, going, yeah, we don't want to use the Inhumans, but we want to still have the original story, and we want to tie it back in. But you can see the problem they had. Miss Marvel, despite having been around for several years now, doesn't really have a defining villain the way a lot of characters do. I mean, Captain Marvel had the same thing, where her defining villain was part of her origin and then just disappeared until like 2020, something like that. So unlike Spider-Man, yes, Green Goblin and Venom and these characters, you go Miss Marvel, who's her villain? The patriarchy? I don't know. That's you can't really do that so well.
Yeah, it's a very odd one. It's I did enjoy it, and the whole thing with them having a fight, and more not so much just her really fighting, but she's like running away, but she's got a little bit more control of her powers for defense, or maybe it's like automatic kind. But again, it's just very. I can't quite put my finger on it. It's just something just not quite hitting the same, because I felt like with Moon Knight, it's like every episode was just like, I just want more and it's great and I don't know what's going on. Whereas this is a bit like, it's good. I think I'm enjoying it more than Hawkeye, but it's not quite at that same level. I don't know. It's kind of. I think when we got the whole series, it might make it a little bit more interesting. But I wasn't so keen on the way on the villains. they were a bit wishy-washy.
Right. And as I already said, I'm not a fan of the villains who first present as allies and then just like, no, our goals don't actually align. I do appreciate that they got it out of the way, though. They didn't draw it out for like 3 episodes where we think these guys are allies and they're helping Kamala, and then it turns out at the end, oh, haha, we're gonna like.
Well, it's a little bit like you didn't really give him much of a chance.
That,
you know, it's like you're so impatient that you're like, well, we got to get back. Like, well, you maybe could have tried to explain that a little bit better to her. She might have, like, you know, if she hadn't talked to her friend, she probably would have carried on with it. But yeah, no, it's a good series. I'm interested to see where it goes now. I didn't get to see it because we had some people in the house doing some work. I couldn't actually use the living room for a few days, so I actually held off until yesterday. And I was like, what got me was like, no spoilers. Like, there was no discussion online about this series the same way of like there was, because the Kenobi had completely taken over the whole scope of everyone what was talking about, which was a shame. So I was quite surprised that I kind of got to Friday and I had still knew nothing about that episode, because I was expecting, usually on Marvel shows, within half an hour of the thing coming out, I've had, you know, someone spoiling us. Maybe the lack of cameos and all the rest of it is helping this series, because that's what everyone seems to love.
I still am wondering if Captain Marvel Brie Larson will show up at like the final episode.
I hope she does. I hope she does.
I mean, that's how the first comic series ended, was basically Captain Marvel popping in and going, "Hello, welcome to being a superhero, and you're perfectly fine using my old name." She wasn't called Miss Marvel in the MCU, so it wouldn't go exactly the same way. But given her obsession with Captain Marvel, it would certainly be nice for her to make an appearance here.
Yeah. Let's now talk about the finale of Kenobi. I enjoyed this episode. There was it felt like it hit all the points that it needed to. You know, we had that big fight between Vader and Kenobi that like left with the idea of like, okay, yeah, so he got beaten up, but also the Emperor kind of playing with him a little bit of like going, don't get too caught up on this guy. You're under my control. And I love the fact that we went back, that we had the castle. And they released that toy and they put it in the comic books, but now we've actually seen it on the screen, you know.
And I don't think it's the last time we'll see it on screen either.
No.
I think that'll pop up again. I mean, that has been the Emperor's thing in the comics for the last couple of years when they're doing the Star Wars between A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back, and now Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. It has basically been Darth Vader just getting routinely manipulated by the Emperor and just going like, yeah, I've got you twirled around my finger and I'm going to poke you quite a few times. And it's kind of fun to see it in the show now, where you're just like, Vader, you're really, I mean, this is like the most obvious manipulation in the entire world. I'm just going to just like, yep, my master, I will do what you've been like.
Okay. Yeah. And I love the fact that Vader got the higher ground. I thought that, well, you can, you know. But again, it's that even that thing like, why are you using the rocks on him? You would think you guys would learn that you need to kind of finish the job off. You know, you kind of, yeah.
That was what bothered me, because at least in Revenge of the Sith, you can go, all right, Obi-Wan does not think he's going to survive, and he doesn't know what he's going to turn into. You know, he's already evil at this point, but you don't know who Darth Vader is going to be. So the idea that he just kind of leaves him to die on Mustafar makes sense. But at this point, he's like, you have beaten Vader. He is completely at your mercy. Why are you walking away? You know the things that Vader has done for the past, like, however many years it's been. You need to put a stop to this for the betterment of the galaxy. I know it's hard. He's still Anakin to you, but don't walk away from him. But
also Vader not walking away from him as well. That was I felt that was what I didn't like. It was like, you know, Vader needed to finish him there and then. But obviously as well, like having the Raver fight. Oh, they didn't even have the fight, which was a little bit disappointing. And like she just kind of suddenly went, "Oh, I've become Anakin." It was a little bit of a wish. Like,
I get what they were trying to do.
It would have been better had Vader just killed her. To be honest,
I mean, honestly, yeah. I get what they were trying to do, and of course, it leaves the character open for her own adventures or to show up in some other adventures in this time period, which is probably the plan. I mean, she's a well-known enough actress that I think if they left her alive, the hope is that she will get to show up in something else. But this whole thing with Owen and Beru and them fighting her off. Yes, she's injured. She's not at her peak, but it's like this is a completely unnecessary side story. She also now knows about Luke to a certain extent. She might not know the full implications of it, but she knows who he is, and so there's someone running around with a secret. And it's just like this is very much filler. This is adding in artificial tension that we did not need in the slightest, and I felt it was distracting from the real thing, which is Obi-Wan versus Vader.
Yeah, it's kind of this whole series to me. It's like it kind of got to the end, and Kenobi obviously, meets Qui-Gon, which is, they finally
That was a nice touch.
That was a nice touch, and then of course they're on, on I can't think of the planet now. They go. I know the other one. Alderaan, yeah. So they know I'm like, oh yeah, if you need me, just give me a shout. It's like, no, don't do that. Get back in your cave and do you where we let. That's where you need to be. just like we need to leave Kenobi now. It was great having him back, and I really enjoy Ewan McGregor, but I just feel like we need to leave this part of the story alone. We know what happened.
Well, I'm hoping that this is the end of the story. There have been a couple of references to Obi-Wan again in the comics. He writing a journal after this where he talks about some of the other things that he does on Tatooine, but it's mostly just keeping sand people away and making sure that gangs aren't shaking down Owen or what have you, which is fine. That's what he's there for. He's to protect Luke, and it makes sense that a lawless planet like Tatooine, he's going to have to be, you guys can bother the other farmers. This one you don't touch. But I do hope there's not another season of Obi-Wan. This got everything that we needed it to have. It finished the story. It enhanced the story, which is important. We get some more details about Leia. We get to see Obi-Wan coming to terms with what he's lost in the Clone Wars and reaching the point where he needs to be for the beginning of A New Hope, which is still like 8 years away at this point.
To me, I still sit there and go, this just wasn't needed. This is such it's just a thing of like, if you don't watch this, it makes no difference. It makes no difference to what your viewing experience. You can never know this existed, and it will not change what happened between 3 and 4. And that is half the characters aren't going to make it into other series. You know where you're going with some of it. I don't know. It's like it was. I also feel like maybe this series was a couple of episodes, because originally they said that it was only going to be like 3 episodes. There was like talk of that. Like, actually would have been better. Like, we could have cut the whole. Like, we could have had Leia being kidnapped, captured once. In some ways, it's just like you could have just done without that whole episode on the city planet. You didn't need it. If she's going to get kidnapped again, just do that. They could have cut that off. I don't know. It's just overall, it was like I enjoyed it. It was fun. It was full on Star Wars, but it didn't quite hit exactly what I was after.
Well, it is also important to keep in mind this was never going to meet people's expectations. The expectations for Obi-Wan were huge. That said, I also do feel a little disappointment. I do feel it was unnecessary. As you said, we're at the same end point as we were at the start point, except now Obi-Wan knows that Anakin's alive, and things like that. And it kind of resolves some of the weird, idiosyncrasies that were going on, like Vader betrayed and murdered your father, and which, like, okay, now Vader has actually said, I murdered Anakin. Okay, well, all right, now you technically can get away with saying that in the New Hope and so on. But it wasn't necessary. It's another one of those, like, we're going to make an entire movie to explain why Han Solo said that he did the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs. Like, you really don't need to explain that.
No. And also, my big thing with this is Hayden Christensen really didn't need to come back for this series. He was barely in it. And in all honesty, it's like we could have just done Vader like the normal Errol Jones voice. And I didn't really feel like it added anything. Maybe, I don't know.
No,
the flashback scenes, that didn't mean anything.
I will actually say I disagree with that. I think that bringing Hayden in and having him do the helmet cut in half like he did in Rebels, and having him actually there doing the voice was a nice touch. It did help kind of bring the character arc together, and it was kind of a nice redemption, not for Vader himself, but actually for Hayden getting to play this character and actually being celebrated for playing this character. Because remember back in the day, he was not popular with Star Wars fans. So to have this moment where people are like, yes, he's Vader, and he's getting this moment, and we get the Order 66 flashback, to actually give him, the applause that he did not get back in the day. I'm willing to just be like, yeah, it wasn't necessary for storytelling reasons, but I'm glad that they did it anyway for Hayden to get his moment. He deserved it. Again, I do agree the series doesn't need to exist, but like Solo, if you're doing the series, this is probably about as good as you're going to get for the series, and I am overall satisfied with it.
I still think a movie would have been better. I just feel like the music would have been better. They probably would have used the proper Star Wars music. I didn't like the fact they didn't use the Empire until like literally like the last second. I felt they should have used that a little bit more. But there wasn't really a lot of space in this one at all. I don't know. It's just it left me again. It's like, yeah, it's okay. I enjoyed it. But it didn't like. It was a bit. I would say it was better than Book of Boba Fett, but it was not. I feel like trudging over old waters. It's gonna be fun to see. I think like with Andor, I'm looking forward to it because we know where we are and we've got the Empire and stuff, but they've got a little bit more time to flesh out these characters. It's like I don't know. It's just very strange with Kenobi. I'm not on that sort of. This is the greatest. It's like no, it's not. It's not on Mandalorian level.
It's not Mandalorian level, but it is. It's very clearly a fan project. It's a project for fans to go, hey, we got Ewan McGregor back. Here's Obi-Wan. We know you want Obi-Wan. Here's a good story with that. We're going to bring the Inquisitors into the mainstream. I know most people got introduced to them in the Jedi Fallen Order video game, but this really brings them out into proper Star Wars. We get to see Owen and Beru again. We get to see Bail. We get to see a little bit of Leia and establish that even at this age, she is a very headstrong and competent person. Again, the books have already dealt with that, but this brings it to the people who don't read the books or the comics or anything like that. This establishes a lot of things that extended readers are already aware of, but now we're bringing it to everybody else and they get a chance to see that. And there's a lot of possibilities for stories branching out of this that do not involve Obi-Wan. We've got the Inquisitors there. We've got you could potentially do more stuff with Bail and Leia. You can do things on some of the other planets. There's the potential there for this to be the starting point of several additional stories. And if they follow up on that, then I think that retroactively makes this much more important and much more. This is why the series exists.
It was definitely left wide open that if they wanted to bring Kenobi in for stuff, they need to. But I don't know. I'm not convinced. I mean, the viewing figures indicate that they might bring it back. And also, it looks like Ewan had seemed to have a lot more fun, like with being at Star Wars Celebration, and he's kind of celebrated in it now, and not having the same, issues that they had when it first came out and stuff. It feels like people are a little bit more happy about this one.
Yeah, it makes me wonder how the sequel trilogy will end up being in like 10 or 15 years if they actually do bother to go back and fill in the gaps a little bit, and people going, oh yeah, Rose wasn't that bad a character. She got some really bad lines, but now we get to celebrate her because she has her own series post Rise of Skywalker or something, and really fleshes out her character or something along those lines.
Yeah, no, I think it's kind of weird because I feel like in some way with Oscar Isaac has been able to he's been able to do the Harrison Ford route of he's got out and been doing movies, Dune, Moon Knight, but obviously John Boyega and Ridley's and haven't quite had that same kind of
I mean, John's been trying. Like he was in Pacific Rim. That sequel should never have happened. That's not his fault though. And he's been doing some other stuff too. But I feel like they're actually more doing like the Harry Potter route, where they made enough money off of the sequels that there's like, I'm gonna do what the heck I want.
Well, Daisy's currently filming a new movie for Disney Plus about a British swimmer swimming across the channel. So she's doing something for Disney right now, which is sometimes not a bad thing. Sometimes just get a few little projects. The actors sometimes like to do a few things and then they kind of go, yeah, I'll go back to the big thing now that pays the money. Now I've been, because I love the fact as well. I think think it was Samuel Jackson was talking recently about like Oscar movies, and he really doesn't care. He's not interested. It's just like, yeah,
I
not
love
interested.
that clip. I would rather keep playing Nick Fury than go for an Oscar bait movie. It's like he used a little stronger terms than that, but like I get that. It's not always about getting the award. Sometimes it's just about having fun, especially at his age, where he's just like, I've got only so many projects left. Let's just enjoy them as much as we can. And you can tell. You can tell he is having a ball in just about every movie you see him in these days.
No, but it's looking pretty good. Right, so there we go. So that is all of this week's stuff. We've got a lot of reviews and stuff to talk about. So next week we'll be talking about The Princess. We'll be talking about probably a little bit of Only Murders in the Building. We'll have Miss Marvel. And I think
unless there's a surprise drop, I think that's it. However, Miss Marvel getting some spotlight to itself, we'll see what the impact that is on internet chatter, and well, you'll see the impact. I will be happily oblivious because, especially after this past Friday, I'm just not touching any of that.
Yeah, I must admit, there is some issues with being online on social media sometimes. But obviously, on that note, you can follow us and you can keep up with everything that's going on our social medias. And nothing too controversial there. But anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for listening, and we shall see you guys soon. Later. Thank you very much for watching this video. Make sure you go check us out over at whatsondisneyplus.com. Like, follow, and subscribe. Also, a huge thank you to all of our supporters over on Patreon and also on our YouTube channel memberships. And I shall see you guys in another video. Laters.